I'm very vocal. I think LeBron is the best player that's ever played the game. He's 6'8", 285 pounds, runs like the wind, and jumps out of the gym. But more importantly, when he came in the league from day one, he knew how to involve his teammates to win. And that's something that Jordan had to learn for a long time. Now, if you go by championships, obviously Michael Jordan has more championships. But I think LeBron in any generation would be doing what he's doing right now.
He didn't soften his stance at all or try to water anything down. Instead, he made it very clear and openly brought up LeBron James and Kevin Durant by name. What makes this even more interesting is that the reaction hasn't fully broken into mainstream coverage yet. It's still flying a bit under the radar. And this isn't coming from some former player sitting back and reminiscing about old eras or complaining about how things used to be. This is someone known for being one of the toughest and most aggressive enforcers from the bad boy era. Now in 2025, drawing a firm boundary and essentially challenging today's biggest NBA stars to cross it if they dare. The more you break down what was actually said, the more uneasy it can start to feel. Not because it's exaggerated or emotional, but because parts of it are surprisingly difficult to dismiss outright.
The bad boys to the youngsters out there, what feeling did you guys try to carry out on the court?
Win championships. That's all that really mattered to us. Our style of play was, everybody called it ugly and they called it ruining the game. But reality says that we changed the game.
There's a quote in The Last Dance from Michael Jordan where he says, quote, "I hated them." And he said, "The hate carries to this day."
To understand why this moment feels so different, you have to go back to who Bill Laimbeer really was. Not the calm TV analyst or the casually mentioned former coach, but the player who built his reputation in the trenches of the NBA. He wasn't just disliked, he was widely hated across the league by opponents, coaches, and even fans who weren't supporting his team. And instead of avoiding that image, he embraced it like a badge of honor. He wasn't the most athletic or flashy player, but he specialized in physicality and mental warfare, using toughness, intimidation, and constant trash talk to disrupt opponents and throw them off their game, playing in an era where basketball was far more physical than today, with fewer restrictions, looser foul interpretations, and no protections that modern players benefit from. Meaning driving into the paint often came with real contact and consequences. And Laimbeer made sure that inside presence felt every bit as difficult as it sounds. Players from that generation often described the lane as a place you had to survive rather than just score in. And he was right at the center of that environment, with hard fouls, psychological pressure, and relentless verbal battles that would get players ejected almost instantly in today's league, even enduring hostile crowds that would turn against him on the road while he stood there.
James be the best player in the league if he was playing in your era?
Probably. There's no one like him in our time slot. He's 6'8", 280 pounds, runs like the wind and jumps out of the gym, and just a smart basketball player. There was no one like him physically in our time slot. Michael Jordan was a tremendous guard, but he wasn't 6'8", 280. That's what LeBron is, so he's pretty good.
We had this conversation yesterday trying to figure out who we thought the toughest NBA player was right now. Who do you think?
A sit-down interview nobody expected to go viral started off normally enough. Bill Laimbeer was casually reflecting on basketball and sharing stories from the past. But once the discussion shifted toward the modern NBA, the tone changed completely. He leaned in, fully serious and unfiltered, and directly stated that players like LeBron James and Kevin Durant wouldn't have lasted a single night against his era, repeating it with no hesitation or softened language. And then he expanded on his reasoning by pointing out how today's league is officiated very differently, how star players are heavily protected, and how actions that once led to hard fouls and no consequences now trigger reviews and suspensions, something that simply didn't exist in the 1980s, in his view, where players had to deal with physical punishment night after night without the same level of protection. And he argued that modern stars have never truly been tested under that kind of relentless pressure. He went further, saying that in today's game players fall and react to contact that would have been laughed off in his time, where toughness meant getting up immediately and continuing to play, because showing any weakness would quickly make you a target for the entire league. And then he doubled down by explaining that in his era the goal wasn't just to win on the scoreboard, but to wear opponents down mentally to the point where they didn't even want to show up the next day, recalling how even elite scorers sometimes tried to avoid certain matchups because they knew what kind of physical and mental challenge awaited them. Before delivering a line that spread rapidly online, where he acknowledged LeBron as a great player, but questioned whether he has ever truly experienced the level of discomfort and pressure that defined older generations of basketball, suggesting that modern careers are more controlled and protected than those of the past, which sparked immediate backlash and debate once the clips circulated in 2025, splitting fans and former players into opposing camps, with some veterans quietly agreeing that today's audience cannot fully understand how brutal the game once was, while others strongly defended LeBron and KD by arguing that every era produces different challenges and that both players dominated the environments they were placed in. And as the discussion escalated across social media, LeBron remained publicly silent while Kevin Durant appeared unbothered online without directly addressing Laimbeer's comments, though his tone suggested he was aware of the discussion. And as the